He takes saving time to a whole new level. Born in New York, Canadian celebrity chef and cookbook writer Michael Smith is a fast cook who has a noggin full of delicious and flavorful recipes. He proves you can speed in the kitchen, not get arrested, and create smash hits like his crazy coleslaw and 4-speed Thai chicken. The 6'7" top chef gets us cooking real food that is flavorful and fast, simple and sustainable. Next. Well, it's good to be here with you today and with Michael Smith, the chef sometimes known as the Friendly Giant. He is passionate about food, its origins, and its magic. When he graduated with honors from the prestigious Culinary Institute of America in New York, he was into complicated victuals. Today, he creates great meals in minimal time. He's been cooking professionally for 20-some years. He's won impressive medals for his talents and his cookbooks. He is the host of Food Network's Chef Michael's Kitchen and the official food ambassador for PEI. His new cookbook is called Fast Flavours. Well, hello.
Thank you,
Mr.
Fanny.
Fast.
I think that's a good thing to be as a chef, as a cook.
Yeah, why not?
Well, hey, we all live a busy life these days, and, I think that in my own sort of circumstances, I've learned that food is not just this thing you put up on a pedestal and you shine a light on it and you have all kinds of fun with it. It's something we have to do each and every day. And in my case, with 3 kids, with a family, a business, with all the folks around me, I too now understand, hey, food's got to be fast too.
How did you feel about fast food? And I shouldn't call it fast food because I don't mean greasy burgers, but how did you feel about preparing food quickly when you graduated from culinary school?
Well, the relationship I had with food when I graduated from cooking school is quite a different, certainly a different animal than what I have now. And at that time, I think it was really all about being a professional. And certainly when you work in a professional kitchen, it's all about speed. Let's get this done. We've got orders, we've got guests, let's move, we've got to flip the table, blah, blah, blah. But today, fast means something completely different to me. And it obviously it sort of traces my own path from being a professional working chef to being a home cook and being very proud of that.
When you grew up, your favorite meal in front of the television was?
Well, when I grew up, there was no television. I think I was,
You're that old.
I was one of the either unlucky or lucky 1% that just did not have a TV in our house. My parents didn't have a television. We didn't watch TV as kids.
Really? In
No
New
kidding.
York?
In New York, no TV. So there was no sitting in front of a TV and eating a meal. And I don't mean to make this sound like mythology. I wasn't necessarily very happy about that at the time. And at the time, too, I don't think I realized how fortunate we were that my mom cooked real food for us every day. It's
really?
just what people did at the time.
Of course.
45 years ago, and I'm dating myself, there was no factory food. There wasn't that kind of relationship with food.
But there was the odd chicken pot pie.
There was.
And TV dinner, even though you didn't have a TV.
Sure.
And craft dinner, of course.
But not in my house, though. My mom made real macaroni and cheese. She truly did.
So that's why, in this book, you have stovetop mac and cheese, is it?
Yeah, it is. It's the sort of thing that you can stir together quickly in a pot on the stove, and it does speak to the underlying issues of the book and all the work that I do, that I really do strongly advocate for a better connection with food. I'm not scolding, I'm not angry. I understand that we all live a challenging life, and I understand that there are enormous forces that are sort of pushing us into sometimes a very unhealthy relationship with food. And I guess that's what I'm trying to do, is just remind people that you can cook real food for your family, and it doesn't have to be this onerous, stressful thing.
I get it. However, we do live in a deli culture now, pretty much.
Sure.
For people who work 2, 3 jobs, or families where mom and dad both work, they stop at the deli and heat up.
Sure.
Eat and eat and burn and learn, as my granddad used to say.
Sure, I understand. And I get that. And we are surrounded by so many great choices. And I think that, yes, we do live in a deli culture, but there's also degrees to that as well. And really what it comes down to is an expectation of quality. We can go to a deli and get some good takeout food, and we can choose one that's got a good, healthy food line that's made with real ingredients.
Walk me into your pantry at home, in that kitchen.
Sure. Well, I guess I'm known for that pantry. You see the one on Chef at Home where I have to duck just to get into that pantry. Of course, that's not my real house. I mean, Why would I design a
It's
pantry that I have to
not.
duck to get into? It's a friend's house. But my new show, Chef Michael's Kitchen, that is my real house. That's where I do the dishes and take out the garbage. It really is. And that pantry, I think like the other pantry, in my case, my pantry is really defined by sort of an artistic approach that I like to see what I'm working with, what's available to me, and it does inspire my process.
And your favorite spices are?
Oh, well, without question, nutmeg is number one on that list. I went all the way to Grenada to track down the source of my favorite spice. I really like my nutmeg. Couldn't imagine life without it.
Really? In a Tom and Jerry or in an eggnog or in some kind of cocktail, because I notice in Fast Flavors it's the first book of yours that has a cocktail section.
Yeah, geez, that was a fun one to test. We have a great team back at home on Prince Edward Island. I've built a studio and a test kitchen, and our offices are all sort of there, and we have a lot of fun testing these recipes. We really do. And I know testing sounds like a big word. It really, in our case, it's just cook it, get familiar with it, make sure it tastes good until we get to that cocktail chapter. My team wants me to do that one again, and it was the last chapter.
Of course. So when you make a good Caesar, what's the trick? Little horseradish, little what?
Lots of flavor. I think that's the trick. A Caesar is a good quintessential East Coast drink, and it's not for shrinking violets. There's nothing subtle about a Caesar. You pack it with flavor, with horseradish, with Worcestershire, and in my case, I like to float oysters in it. Drunken oysters, I call them. Why not?
Do you have a favorite oyster?
Oh, do I ever? I live on eastern Prince Edward Island, Colville Bay, Johnny Flynn, Johnny and Leo brothers, best oysters in the world, I think.
And the trick to shucking a raw oyster?
Well, there's a lot of tricks to it. The big trick is not to lever it, but to twist. Once you get into that hinge, you twist, don't lever. That's the trick.
Right. I have the cheat board. I think I bought it in Nova Scotia.
Sure.
It's just a block of wood, and the oyster fits in here, and it helps you
protect your hand.
Pop.
Gosh,
Yes.
I think that's probably the number one injury for chefs are opening oysters. How many times we cram that thing right through our hands? Yeah, I like the wood too.
Your first restaurant was?
Well, the first restaurant that I was part of the ownership was the Inn at Bay Fortune on Prince Edward Island, if that's what you mean. I cooked there for 7 years. I still live in that community, and the Inn is still there going strong. And it was very much the restaurant that defined who I am as a cook.
And why did you pick PEI? A New York guy
Yeah.
comes to PEI. Why?
Sure. What a culture shift that was. I almost feel like PEI picked me somehow. I say, and I believe strongly, it's in my heart that when I first moved to Prince Edward Island, it really did feel like I was coming home. That's an odd thing for an American to say.
Right.
And in some ways, I feel like a born-again American. My values are on Prince Edward Island. It aligns with who I am as a person and the community that I'm a part of and the friends. And it's a great place to raise a family, and nature is close to us every day. It just aligns with who I am.
You're Yul Gibbons, reincarnated, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Don't know for sure. Did you have a mentor through much of this, a chef you admired greatly?
Well, I did actually. It's interesting you ask that now. There's been several, but I have to say, last night I was with Barbara Joe from Books to Cooks at John Bishop's restaurant.
Yes.
And I've been to Bishop's several times over the years, but in particular I was there 18 years ago, the first time I walked into that restaurant. It was very early in my career. Young hotshot chef, all full of myself, ego, all of it, thinking it's all about me and my food and my passion and all those things. And Anita Stewart, who I'm sure you know, Anita had sort of stumbled onto what we were doing on PEI and saw something and realized, you need some perspective, and strongly suggested 18 years ago that we come west and come and see that there's other food cultures in Canada. So we came out here for a trip years ago, and that was the first time I went to Bishop's. And it wasn't so much the food that stayed with me. I mean, John was doing local food long before anybody said local. It wasn't that, though. It was the graciousness of that room. It was the hospitality experience, the joy at the table. I'll never forget that. It stuck with me, and it helped me realize that to truly be successful as a chef, we have to let our needs go, and we have to focus on what our guests are all about.
Yes, Bishop's. It's simple, it's elegant, superb food.
And very welcoming.
And eating at the top of the game, but not fattening and too saucy.
And not trying to be cutting edge either. You know, they're just bishops. It just works. You just feel at home. It's a great
And
restaurant.
he's there.
And he is there.
Almost
He is.
24/7.
Yes, he is. He's a very, very big inspiration to a lot of us.
Now the pizza craze, a long way from Bishop, but it seems that there's pizza shops popping up all over.
Sure.
In PEI too?
Not so much. You know, I think we're seeing more of the burger craze on Prince Edward Island. I have to say, though, I do have a wood-burning pizza oven at the end of the dining room. So for
Of course you do.
For us, we make our own pizza. But you know, really for us, we're seeing more of the sort of the gourmet burgers is really the big trend that
We're
we're
seeing authentic pizza like people eat in Naples.
Sure.
Right, with the original oven and all of that.
Sure,
that
sure.
Micli Antica Pizzeria here. Should
And
try
really,
it.
all of it speaks to how so many of us, so many chefs, so many cooks, so many hospitality professionals have realized that we don't need to find integrity in high-end, over-the-top fine dining. And I don't have a problem with that. I love that. I love that we have that end of our craft. But there's integrity as well in things like really good pizza or a really good hamburger. There's no shame in that when you do it right.
And the Michael Smith really good hamburger has what in it?
Local, organic, real beef to start with, a little bit of salt and pepper. That's about it. Yeah, maybe
Really?
some lettuce, a tomato, a little homemade ketchup. I like to put mine on a red Fife bun. I bake buns with red Fife. And
Red Fife flour?
yeah, red Fife flour.
What the heck is Red Fife flour?
Well, that's the flour that made Canada great. That's the grain that our settlers planted as they came across the prairies. It's a heritage grain, and it's what I like best about it is not just the story, but it's actually got a lot of flavor to it. It's a good, rich flavor.
But it's not red.
No. But the hull, when you see the grain growing, it does have a sort of a reddish tinge to it.
Okay.
Red Fife.
Red Fife. Michael Smith, our guest, he's a long, tall chef. As you know, someone said you're too handsome for your height. Or are you? Who knows? We'll return with chef, TV host, and cookbook king Michael Smith after this.